I'm going to be making a series of tutorials of how to make a dubstep song, layer by layer, step by step. This is the process I normally use and modify whenever I write my own dubstep music. So today, the first one is going to be about the drums. So we're going to load up Cubase. We're in Cubase now. Press F11 and load up Maschine. All right, it's asking, do I want to create a MIDI track assigned to Maschine? And I do. So we'll click Create. There's our MIDI track. Here's Maschine. First thing we want to do is click on the little down arrow by Group A. Click Sound MIDI Batch Setup and change this to Sounds to MIDI Notes. And then under the MIDI input, change it from all MIDI inputs to Maschine MIDI out. This is going to let Cubase use Maschine as a sound module instead of using the internal sequencer inside Maschine. All right, now that we have that set up, we'll check our tempo. Generally, dubstep runs at 140 beats per minute with a halftime shuffle, and I'll show you how to do that shortly. All right, we'll take our track here and we will call it Snare. And then bring up the instrument and pick a pad. I'm going to put my snare on this pad. So we'll click in the sound browser. We'll click drums. And then we'll click snare. And then a vinyl snare. All right, we'll use this one. Now, this halftime shuffle thing is a simple way of saying put the snare on the 3. So we'll turn the metronome off, and on every 3, we'll drop the snare on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, we've got our snare on the 3. Now we will duplicate that track and remove what we recorded, and we'll call it kick. So now we're going to record the kick drum into another track, another MIDI track, and I'm going to use pad 1 for the kick. Now in our browser we'll change from snare to kick and find a kick we want. We'll use this one. Now we'll put the kick in there also. All right, that note's a little bit off, so I'll move it. And we have the kick and snare both now. All right, the next layer we'll duplicate a track again and remove what we recorded, and we'll call this one, hats. And we're going to add 2 different hats this time to pads 3 and 4. So we'll click on closed hi-hats and find a couple of closed hi-hats that sound slightly different but somewhat similar. All right, I'll load one of them into 3 and the other into 4. Now we'll play a pattern, a hi-hat pattern, over the top of what we just recorded. All right, we got a hi-hat pattern in there. Now we will duplicate the track again to make another drum track, and we'll call this one second snare. And we're going to put what is called a ghost note, or a small snare hit after the main snare. So I'm going to go back to the snares. I'm going to put this in sound 6. This should be a lower sound, something a little less powerful than the other snare sound, and we'll lower the volume of it a little bit. You want to drop this a little bit after the 3. There we go. Now we have a secondary ghost noted snare. I think I'm going to add another hit here. I have a good bit of variation. All right, now we'll duplicate that again, and we will add another element. It's going to be a hat pattern. And now we'll load up Maschine, and then let's see, pad 7, we'll put another hi-hat in. Another closed one. This one should be pretty small sounding. That's good. Now we're going to use note repeat to come up with an interesting pattern to go over the top of it. I'll record that in. All right. All right, I'm going to bring that down a little more in the volume, just so it's very far in the background. All right, let's shrink this so we can see a little more. All right, I'll duplicate that track again, remove what we recorded, and we'll put a ride symbol on this one. All right, I'll pick pad 16 for the ride. We'll click Symbols, Ride, and find a ride we like. Now we'll record that in. All right, we'll duplicate that track and we'll call this shaker. Load up the machine again, pick pad 8, and we'll go to shaker sounds. All right, we'll just add this in a few like sparse places to add some more variation. Alright, and now we'll duplicate that track, remove what we recorded, and call this one crash. And this is where we will put the crash cymbal. And we will put it on 13, cymbal, crash. We'll find a good crash we like. That one sounds good. And we'll put it on the 1 of the first bar. Alright, now we're going to have to lower the volume of that crash quite a bit because it stands out too far. This is going to be the basis that we build the drums around. That's a pretty good groove. I'm going to duplicate what I have here and pull the pattern farther out. And then in this section, one section here, I'm going to remove certain elements. I'm going to remove the hi-hat pattern and the ride. Now I'm going to take the section where that ride, that hi-hat pattern speeds up and just put it at the end. This is what we're going to use in the next segment of the tutorial to start fleshing out some more elements of the song. This is JC, Dropforge Records. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. If you like and subscribe, there's more coming. Part 2 will be adding some synth bass in on this drum pattern.